In conclusion, perhaps.
Yeah. So this is a good question, though. What can we do to help to encourage more like bottom-up creation of law and respect within our local communities, within our households, within the various tribes that we consider ourselves to be a part of?
Well, I feel like it's probably every talk that we have is going to come back to this same point. We need to grow. We need to grow
Right.
up.
Grow up.
Because if we figure out how to bring, that left and right brain piece of ourselves together and heal the conflict between that and ourselves, then it will make it easier for us to communicate about these things with other people. And when we can do that because our ability to have both sides of our brain working together means that we will be more capable. Like, okay, this glass is three-dimensional, right? And
Prove it.
let's not go there. This glass is three-dimensional. I usually like to use a quarter. And I hold it up and I say, what do you see? Well, one person's going to see heads and one person's going to see tails. We both know we're talking about a quarter, but because we're only on one side of the quarter, we only see one of the pictures. So when we can use both sides of our brain, it makes it easier for us to see, oh, well, you see something different. Let me come around and see it. Let me turn it around. Let me explore what this is and get the full picture. But if our brain is in conflict about those two things, when we have that same discussion, I'm like, no, you don't. It's an eagle. Yeah. How come you don't see an eagle? Right. Eagle!
Right.
So if we can fix our ability in ourselves to just be able to bring together both sides, then it will make it easier for us to discuss these things and see the whole picture together, three-dimensional, 360-degree view of the problem. And that is when step one is going to happen of addressing the problem, right? Because, even every 12-step program, the first step is addressing what the problem is. You have to call it out.
Yeah,
but we haven't even gotten that far because we're only seeing a piece of it.
Right. You have to shine light on the darkness in order to illuminate it so you can see it.
Sounds like something Bob Marley said.
Yeah.
A lot of people said that.
Megan made a really interesting point. She said, "Grow up or grow together." And here's a perfect example, right?
Yes.
Like we can grow up together, right? It doesn't have to be either or. It can be both and.
Right. There's a lot of times where you're going to hear me say that both and is really the answer.
Both and.
Because or is immediately putting you in the division.
In the us versus them.
And that takes away from the taking things personally. Because that's going to be something I say a lot, because I feel like that's really what that is. The and or takes away the me and it's us.
Yes.
Ubuntu. I am because we are.
Yes.
It is not just me. And so everything that I hear, connect with in conversation, I don't take personally. I have to take into account the person I'm talking to. I have to understand who they are, what they've been through, their trauma, in order to understand the conversation and communication they are portraying to me. And then I also have to do work on myself. I gotta do work on this.
No.
I mean, like, I gotta look in the mirror at this guy all the time. You're like, hey, are you good? What are you doing? Like, I have to. Because then if I don't, then everything that this person, even if what they were saying was genuine, I am going to filter through crap. And that's a lot of what I think we've been struggling with as well, is we're not investing enough time on self. So the things you watch and stuff you do.
Your average person is going to hear that and they're going to sound, well, that sounds selfish. But the fact is you're investing in yourself so that you can actually be a better, healer to the world.
You can be more selfless when you've healed this.
Right.
It's not selfish.
That's another dichotomy. Right. There's the selfish versus selfless dichotomy, and at some point you start that starts to break down, because by taking care of yourself, you are taking care of your family. By taking care of yourself, you are taking care of your community, and that's probably another thing that kind of is in this red-blue division.
Yeah.
And so I find it difficult why we feel that taking care of self is selfish. When, if you are struggling with pain, if you have struggles with yourself, trauma that you've gone through, to think that doing what you can to better yourself and come out of that, to think that that's selfish, to me is like an insane thought, because it's like, well, if I don't, everything that I say or do is a direct reflection of that trauma. And I could in turn, out of detriment,
do more hurt.
Right, I could do harm.
So I'm thinking of the Greek myth. Is it Greek or Roman? Anyway, Chiron. This was the wounded healer. When you're wounded, you're going to be the one that wounds. He who wounds, he who does the wounding, he who is wounded. By healing your own internal wounds, you're actually going to be less likely to bleed on other people when they're trying to help you, even. You're going to be less likely to hurt people when you're a more whole person.
Yeah.
Yes, if you don't heal your wounds, you're going to bleed on everybody else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's just like they say, at least what you get taught when you're learning how to dress yourself, or in combat situation, or even on the plane. What do? You get the air mask, you put it on your face, strap it on, and help the person next to you.
Yeah. Sam
all I'm saying.
Sam has a question.
Hi, Sam!
She says, red, blue, what happened to purple?
Sam, you're on my wavelength right now, because that's literally what I've been thinking in my head for the last 5 minutes. I'm like, we're going to end this by saying the summation of this is that red and blue need to make purple.
Purple rain!
Have a baby. Well, and actually...
Way to be in my head.
I was gonna actually think about it from a different perspective. What if... Like, what about subtracting all of the stuff that isn't purple from the red and blue, so that you have another color entirely? Like what about the ability to have completely unique ideas about things too?
Right.
And that's okay too. And maybe that's the other dichotomy that we can rise above. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting when you actually think about like what colors are, color frequency, for lack of better words.
Right.
What colors represent. Red is a very primitive, eye-focused color. It's very, back when I was in the New Age movement, your red root chakra, it was all about like personal eye stuff, your survivalism, and then
being secure in the physical world.
Right, and then blue was more it was more like your voice, that kind of thing. And so they kind of operated in different frequency. But
and they combined
purple,
and they made wisdom.
Yeah, but purple is the crown.
Brilliant.
And it's been often throughout history equated with like royalty. Purple is a color of royalty. So, the idea that red and blue marry together and become purple, that's a very next step in evolution. I imagine that beyond that is where you're going to get into things like you were just saying. But
Right,
I think people have to take each step.
Yep,
They can't
you do.
skip them.
Yeah, you
just
have
getting
to.
people to merge together their opposing concepts and realize that they're not opposing is step one.
Right. Yeah, that's huge.
And
yeah.
then we'll go beyond that.
What if we
more
find out
individualism.
that we're actually saying the same thing,
Right.
but just saying it in different ways?
Right.
What if we're just having a big semantic argument, and that's all
That
it
is literally all of the existence of humanity, isn't it?
Right. Like,
All
what if-
semantics, everything.
What was the joke that the one comedian used to talk about back when World War I happened? Like, what if the ambassador to Italy was never murdered in the first place, and the entire World War I was done for a lie?
Wow. Wow. Right. Right.
Which set in the entire
The whole
globe
thing in
on this
motion.
new weird track that we're on. That's a whole nother discussion, though.